Hey, it's Dave here. Ever wanted Alexa to play your own custom MP3 clips when something happens in Home Assistant? Like when your doors open, she plays a custom soundback saying welcome back. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to do it step by step. We'll cover how to install HACS, get the Alexa media player set up, convert your MP3s to the right format and make them work. Whether you're using Nabucasa or DuckDNS, I'll show you how to trigger those sounds using both Node-RED and Home Assistant automations. Let's get to it. Now, just a quick heads up, before we dive in, this video includes a couple of prerequisites, like installing HACS and the Alexa media player integration. If you've already got these set up, feel free to use the timestamps in the description to jump straight to the parts you're interested in. No need to sit through it again if you've already done it before. Alright, now let's start by installing HACS. To install HACS, you need to go onto the website and then click on Use. Then go to check if requirements are met. And if you're not sure what version of Home Assistant you have, go back to Home Assistant, go to Settings, and then go to About, and you'll see the versions showing there. Now going back over to the HACS website, we're now going to go to Downloading HACS. Click on My Link. Now because I've got a live and a demo version, I'm manually going to enter the IP address, but you probably could have just clicked on Open Link. Go ahead and open link. Click Add, and now install. Once it's installed, no need to check Start on Boot and just click Start, and then you're going to need to click on the Log tab, and what it's going to show is Install Complete, and it's going to tell you to remember to restart Home Assistant before you configure. So go to Developer Tools. Check configuration while we're at it, and then just give Home Assistant a reboot. From the Home Assistant portal, we are now going to install the HACS integration. If you go to Settings, and then click on Devices and Services, now click on Add Integration. And from this search, you're going to type in HACS, and then just go ahead and acknowledge the following, check all those boxes and click Submit. Now it's going to show a device activation code which you're going to need to copy and log into your GitHub channel and paste. Just click Continue to sign in. And paste that code here and click Continue again. And then just agree and authorize HACS. And you should see a congratulations, you're all set if done properly. Now go back to Home Assistant and click Finish. Now we need to go back into HACS and download the Alexa media player integration. If you click in the search field and just type in Alexa and look for Alexa media player, click on that, and if you scroll down to the bottom right, click download, and then click download again. And if you go to Settings, you should see a prompt where it's just requesting you to restart Home Assistant. Go ahead and click Submit. And click Finish. And then your Home Assistant should go through a restart process. Now that you've downloaded the Alexa media player from within HACS, you're now essentially going to repeat these steps but install the Alexa media player integration within Home Assistant under Devices and Services. Go to Settings, Go to Devices and Services, click Add Integration and type in Alexa, and the one you want is Alexa Media Player. Then you're going to change Amazon.com to reflect your region and type in your Amazon email address and password. Now this is the tricky part where you need to get the authenticator key. Head over back to the Amazon website and you're going to go to Accounts and Lists and click on your account. Then go to Login and Security. Then under two-step verification, click Manage. And then click Add New App. Now you're going to click Can't Scan Barcode to reveal that complex code, and you're going to copy it. Head back over to Home Assistant and you're going to paste in that Authenticator app key and then scroll down and click Submit. Leave that window open and go back over to the Amazon web page. And we're going to paste in the one-time code. In this case, it doesn't seem to be working for me, so I'm going to open up the Microsoft Authenticator app and I'm going to use the code there instead. And in this case, you can see it has worked. And I'm going to click Yes, OTP code was verified, and click Submit. And I'm just going to leave the Alexa one-time code shown again in the bottom right. Now it's going to prompt you to sign in again to your Amazon Alexa account. If you click Sign in already a customer, and then just use your Amazon credentials and click Sign in, and it's going to give you another one-time code which should allow you to use that same Alexa Media Player one-time code, but it's a hit and miss whether this works. And in this occasion you can see it's given me a message about expired. I'm going to open up my Microsoft Authenticator app and use my Amazon account one-time code, and I'm going to paste that one instead, and that's going to get me a little bit further. I would be very surprised if this works first time for you. This is a real headache and it will probably take a couple of attempts. Now from here you can just give your devices a location and then click Finish. Now that you've got HACS installed and the Alexa Media Player integration successfully configured, we're now going to confirm that audio or sounds are able to be played on your Amazon Echo device. If you head over to Developer Tools and then just go to the Actions tab, and I'm just going to paste some example code. It's going to look something like this. And the areas you'll need to change is the message section to reflect the URL where the audio file is being played from, and you'll also need to update the target so it references your Amazon Echo device. I'm just going to paste in another example code where that information's already been entered. So it will look something like this. Now if you head over to this following web page, and if you scroll about halfway down, you'll see a section called Available Sounds. And from here you can just click on that drop down menu and select the relevant category, or just do a search for a file you're looking for. I'm just going to do a type for siren. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the first example, and what we're going to do is click Copy to Clipboard, which is going to copy the whole of the source location. Then you're going to go back to Home Assistant, and I'm just going to clear the message section. I'm going to paste that clipboard in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and press the Action button. And you should have heard that siren sound. So we know that sounds are playing, which means that HACS and the Alexa media player is successfully configured. Before we jump into adding the MP3s to Home Assistant, let's quickly go over how to convert your audio files into a compatible format. I'll show you two tools, Audacity, which I highly recommend for its ease of use, or FFmpeg, a command line utility if you prefer something more advanced or scriptable. Then we'll look at how to get these files into Home Assistant, either using the File Editor add-on to navigate to the file structure, or Samba Share, which lets you browse the folder structure directly from your home computer. I'll walk you through all of these options now. Before I take you to a website where you can download some sample sound effects, if you head over to this one first, and if you scroll about a quarter way down, you'll see a section called Audio, and it warns you on the limitations you need to watch out for. It can't be longer than 240 seconds. The bit rate must be 48 kilobits, and the sample rate can be between 22,000, 24,000 or 16,000 hertz. Make note of that because when we download some files, it's unlikely they're going to fall into that category, and you will have to convert it either by using Audacity or this FFmpeg. Now, in terms of downloading some sample sound effects, you can pretty much just go into Google and type in a search like MP3 sound effects free download, and it's going to take you to various websites. Here's one I've came across just called freesoundeffects.com, and I'm just going to see if I can find something interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and click on applause, and let's just see what this one sounds like. So that's just some people clapping. Maybe I'll make a routine so that when I tidy up my bedroom it starts clapping, because that never happens. So we're just going to download this example MP3. And just make note of where you've saved it, because you're going to use it later. There's a really good piece of software called Audacity, and it allows you to edit, split various audio files. And in this example, I'm just going to show you how to convert the MP3 file to a format that's compatible with Alexa Media Player. On the right hand side, you can see I've got an example MP3 I've downloaded earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it into Audacity. In order to convert it to the correct format, if you click on File, and then choose Export Audio. For this window, just go ahead and check Export to Computer. Then you're going to give the file a name of your choosing. For the folder path, again, that's up to you. Just somewhere on your computer you're going to save it to. I've just put it to a converted folder. The format needs to be MP3, and these three options are the important ones. The sample rate needs to be set to 24,000 hertz. If you set bitrate mode to constant, if it's set to something else, it kind of breaks the other drop down menus and you can't select the correct format. So just make sure that's select to constant, and then the quality you can have that as 48 kilobits. So just make sure that those three settings are exactly as I show in this video. And then you can just leave export range to entire project, and then go ahead and click export. Another option to converting the MP3 file into a format compatible with Alexa Media Player is a piece of software called FFmpeg.exe. In order to achieve this, you have to run this command line, which can be a bit confusing. So to make the process easier, I've put a batch file together which essentially does it for you. I'm just going to show you how it works. So what you do is when you download an MP3 file, you're just going to copy it into the same directory of that batch file, double click on it. It's then going to search for any MP3 files in that root directory. It's going to exclude anything that's got the word converted. It's going to run this part of the code, which is going to convert it into a compatible format. And then the new file which it creates, it's going to rename it to have -converted at the end. So that way you'll know which file was the original and which file was the converted. And if you were to run it again, it won't do anything because it knows there's a file called converted already in that location. I'm just going to demonstrate it from working. So on the right hand side, you can see here's a sample file I've downloaded earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that file into the same directory. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click on this mp3 convert.bat file. And you're going to see a second file is going to exist, which is applause-converted.mp3. So that is the new file, which will be compatible with Alexa Media Player. And from there, you can go ahead, rename it to whatever you want, and copy it into one of your Home Assistant shared folders so that when it's called, that file will play. This batch file is also quite helpful if you had multiple files to convert, because it would also do multiple files at the same time. Once you've downloaded and converted the MP3 file into a compatible format, you're then going to need to find a way of transferring it onto a share on your Home Assistant server. In this first example, I'm going to show you using File Editor, which you've most likely already got installed. So you're going to go to File Editor. You're then going to click on Browse File System, and you're going to navigate down and look for a folder called www. You're then going to need to create a new folder called MP3. I've already got this because I've made it earlier. So you're going to click on New Folder, call it MP3, make it all lowercase in this example just to rule out case sensitivity being an issue. And once you've created that folder, you're then going to go into that location and you're going to upload the MP3 file you've already converted. So go ahead and click Upload File. And then you're going to click the File button. And you're going to browse to the location where the file is saved. In this case, I've just saved it into Sample Sounds Converted. I'm going to go ahead and select that MP3 file and click Open. And then you can just click OK. And now you can see that file is now saved. Another option to transfer the MP3 file is if you've installed an add-in called Samba, you can open a folder share within your home PC and just drag and drop the files across. If you go to Settings and then go to Add-ons, then go to Add-on Store. If you type in Samba, you'll see one called Samba Share. This is optional, but if you don't already have it, go ahead and install it. And once it's installed, check Start on Boot and check Watchdog. And if you go to the Configuration tab, you'll need to give it a username and give it a password. And then if you just scroll down and click Save. Once that's up and running, I'm just going to show you browsing from one path to the other. So now you can see two folders, and the folder on the left is browsing to the IP address of my Home Assistant server. It's going to config, www, and then MP3. And it's got some files I've already copied earlier. And then on the right hand side, that's just a folder on my PC where I've got the MP3 file which I've already converted. And I can just drag and drop, copy it across. And now that file is now on Home Assistant. So that's one option that makes it easier to copy files across, and particularly if you're copying multiple files across, you may wish to consider that as an option. Now that you've converted and copied the MP3 file to your Home Assistant, we're now going to confirm it's actually able to play. If you go to Developer Tools, then go to the Actions tab, and I've copied some sample code earlier of how it should look. This would be your Nabu Casa address. It's going to be pasted into here, and the section where it's got local and MP3, local is referring to that www, and then MP3 is the MP3 folder I created earlier, and then that's the audio file I've copied. So you'll need to change that to your Nabu Casa address, and the target will need to reflect your Amazon Echo device. For those using DuckDNS, I will cover you in a second. Now, if you don't know your Nabu Casa address, if you just go to Settings, and if you go to Home Assistant Cloud, you'll see here under Remote Access, just go ahead, copy that link. Back into Developer Tools. Now I'm just going to quickly change this to my actual Nabu Casa address, so this will work. Now I'm going to press Perform Action. And you should have heard that applause. Now there is a frustrating error message which you're almost certainly going to hear at some time, so I'm just going to quickly play that.
Sorry, I'm having trouble accessing your Simon Says EU skill right now.
Now, to make things more complicated, that error can actually mean more than one thing. It's either you've typed in the URL completely wrong, or it may be the address is perfectly right, but you didn't convert the MP3 into the correct format. So it's a little bit of a hit and miss as to which stage you've gone wrong in. I'm going to copy some of my example MP3 files onto my GitHub channel, and I recommend you copy those across and use those as part of your triaging, because at least that way, when you're getting this to work, you already know you're using a known good audio file, and then you can rule out it's either the URL is wrong or something else. To confirm the URL is correct, what you'll want to do is copy this section and just paste it into your web browser URL field, and it should automatically play the MP3 file. I'm just going to paste my actual Nabu Casa address in. And you can hear the sounds are playing, so we know we've got the URL correct and working. Moving on to DuckDNS, I'm just going to very quickly prove it does work, and then I'm going to show you some of the hiccups you may experience. So I'm just going to replace the URL with a demo DuckDNS I've created earlier. And now I'm going to go ahead and click Perform Action. And that does work. Now I'm going to show you the headaches which took quite a long time to understand. Some of the forums I've come across reference the port. In this demo environment, I did set my DuckDNS, so it went to 8123. This is the part that's going to really screw with your head, is I'm going to copy this address, and I'm actually going to paste it into a web browser. So we know the address is accessible, it's definitely correct, but If I attempt to play this, I'm going to get the Simon Says error message.
Sorry, I'm having trouble accessing your Simon Says EU skill right now.
Now in this demo environment, I'm using a combination between DuckDNS and Nginx, and it appears you have to have your external port forwarding set as 443, and then that goes to whatever port you've set Nginx to. Now you can set 443 in here, providing you've already got the port forwarding, just to prove this also works. But you don't need that there. I'm going to remove that, and I'm just going to show you where I went through in terms of configuration to get this working, because this one is going to really screw with you. If you go to settings, go to add-ons, and I'm using a combination of DuckDNS and Nginx. And if you go to the configuration tab, you'll see here it's got network port set to 443. What you're going to need to do is enable port forwarding, and you must have the external port as 443, and then the internal port is whatever this one's set to. So this doesn't have to be 443, it could be 444, 445, but from your router, the external port must be 443. Even if you have it set so the external port is 8123 and then it goes to 443, it doesn't seem to work and you get that Simon Says error message. I'm now going to navigate to my home router and better explain this setup. So from here, I'm going to navigate to WAN services, and there's an option called port forwarding in here. Unfortunately, your home router is probably going to be completely different to mine, but at least it gives you an idea. And you'll see in this example, my demo environment, I've got the WAN port as 8123 and the internal LAN port as 443, because that way, when I'm accessing Home Assistant from outside the network, I type in my DuckDNS address and then reference the port 8123 and it gets me to the Home Assistant login. And there's a good chance most other people have done a setup similar. But the Alexa media player does not seem to like that, and you'll just keep getting that Simon Says error. So what I've also done now is I've set another port forwarding where the external port is 443 and the internal port, that's set to 443, but that's whatever you've set your Nginx network port to. So that could be something completely different. I'm not really happy with this setup because it means by using DuckDNS, you're sort of forced to expose more ports and potentially open yourself up to security vulnerabilities. But that's the only way I've seen to successfully get this to work. At this point, you've really got to ask yourself, is it worth having DuckDNS to just save about £5 or whatever it costs for the Nabucasa subscription? Because if you have the Nabucasa subscription, it's a lot more secure. You haven't got to open up all these ports and you're not going to experience these headaches. So I'll leave you to make that decision on whether you want to continue using DuckDNS or maybe in the future, perhaps move on to Nabucasa. I'm now going to create and demonstrate a sample routine that will play an MP3 file triggered on a certain condition. If you navigate to settings and you're going to go to automations and scenes, and if you go to the bottom right and click on create automation, then if you select create new automation, and then on the top right, if you click on those three dots and select edit in YAML, I'm just going to paste in some example code here. And what this is going to do is when my vibration sensor is knocked, it's then going to go ahead and play an MP3 file to say I've got mail.
You've got mail.
So it's a kind of scenario that you've got a post box. If I open up the developer tab at the same time, I can sort of show you which part of the code you need to change for your environment. So you're going to go to Developer Tools, go to the Action tab, and here's an example I've got. I'm just using DuckDNS in this example, but if it was Nabucasa, the only thing you'd have to change is that web address part. So when you compare the two, if I go back to the code, and you'll see here, this is the section where it's got the web address, and that's this part here that you'll need to copy. And also you'll see target, it's got the Alexa media player, which is this part you'll need to replace as well. For entity ID, I'm just using a vibration sensor. Whatever Zigbee device you've got, you can go ahead and use. You could use a contact sensor. One thing to watch out for with these Zigbee devices is it's important you want it to activate or trigger when a state goes from one value to the other. In this case, I'm triggering it when it goes from off to on. If you just set it to only trigger when it goes to on, there is a risk you're going to get false positives, because these Zigbee sensors, they time out and they sometimes go to an unknown state and then back into another state. So it's much better to have it when it goes from off to on, and that will just eliminate those false triggers. I've also added a delay here, because what that means is it's going to wait 5 minutes and it won't trigger again. Because I've set this mode to single, that means that while this automation is running, if it's triggered again, it will just ignore any actions. So I've just added that 5-minute delay, so there's no way it could accidentally be triggered again within that 5-minute time frame. You might want to change that, or you'll probably be happy just as it is. We're now going to go ahead and click Save. And it's up to you what you want to call it. I'm just going to leave it as it is, so it says New Mail Notify, and go ahead and click Create. Now, one of the extra features I'm going to add to this is when I hear notifications, normally I'm in the middle of something and I don't quite hear exactly what was said, and it'd always be nice if it was to repeat it again afterwards. So what I'm going to add now is not only is it going to play the sound effect, but it's going to have a 5-second delay and then repeat it. This is really a personal preference, but I quite like my notifications to just tell me twice. So I'm just going to quickly edit this code and make it so it plays twice. So just from the Actions tab, underneath there, I'm just going to paste this section in here, and what it's doing is it's running a repeat command, and it's running it twice, and it's then just calling this sequence, which is more or less doing what it was earlier, but it's just going to run it twice. All of this code will be on my GitHub channel, so you can just copy it and use it if you want to. But I just personally like the idea of getting a notification, 5-second delay, get the notification again, so that way you've heard it. And then once again, you'd go ahead and click Save. I'm now going to create exactly the same demo routine, but this time using Node-RED. If you head over to Node-RED on the sidebar, and you'll see this is the process flow I've put together. The parts that you're going to need to change is mailbox sensor and play MP3 file. If I start on this one, you'll see here entity ID you're going to need to change to your Zigbee sensor. And one section that's really important is the problem with Zigbee sensors is because the state sometimes changes to unknown, you want it so the condition is only when it goes from off to on. And that's what I've added here, where it's got conditions from off to on. And that way it's not going to give you any of these false alerts. So all you're going to need to change here is just the entity ID, leave the rest as it is, and then click Done. The next section is just a 5-minute delay, and it won't repeat anymore. This is a scenario as if you've knocked the sensor, it's going to trigger the routine, but if you knock it again within 5 minutes, it's not going to repeat. You don't need to change any of this unless you want the time frame to be longer or shorter. Just leave that node as it is. Then it's going to play the MP3 file. And what you'll need to change here is the action. You'll need to make it so it's reflecting your Amazon Echo device. So you'll have to change it to yours. And the data tab, if I just expand this, it's a piece of JSON that's running. And you can see there it's referencing the external URL and the path to the MP3 file. This will need to be changed to either your Nabu Casa address or your DuckDNS address. If I go back into Developer Tools, it's this address I'm referring to. So this particular section that you would have tested earlier and you know works. You just need to paste it into here. The rest you leave as it is and you click Done. And then just click Done again. And the deploy button will be red. And then you just click on that, deploy the process flow, and then you're good to go. One other thing I thought I'd quickly mention is when I share the JSON code for this Node-RED, if you've never imported anyone's Node-RED process flow before, I'm just going to very quickly show you. If you click on the 3 horizontal lines and then click on Import, in this section here, you basically just paste the code and then this import button won't be grayed out. You click Import and that allows you to use someone else's process flow. And that's it. You've now got Alexa playing custom MP3 clips through Home Assistant, whether you're using Node-RED or the native automations. If you found this helped you out, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more smart home automation tutorials. If you've got stuck, drop a question in the comments section or join my Discord channel and ask me there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.